In just a couple of hours' time, the Queen will leave Buckingham Palace for the final time, the place which was not just her official home, but the scene of so many key moments during her reign. A short time ago, the King waved to onlookers from the State Rolls-Royce as he drove into the palace. The queue of mourners grows as the final touches are made to prepare the silent procession which will take the Queen's coffin on a gun carriage to the Palace of Westminster, where she will lie in state. The last time there was such a state occasion was 20 years ago, when the Queen Mother passed away. Well, thousands of people have begun gathering along the procession route and to wait for a chance to view the Queen's coffin in Westminster Hall and pay their respects. Our correspondent Victoria MacDonald has been talking to some of the people who got there early to join that queue.
Dawn over Westminster, a day of beginnings and of ends, or at least of farewells. The devoted, the curious, and those wanting to mark an historic occasion. First in the queue, they've been here for 2 nights.
It's going to be a sad experience, and also going to be a unique experience to be there as a first person. I'll be saying prayers in my heart to Majesty the Queen and for her great service.
We will be happy to see her and say thank you for all what you've done to the country and the Commonwealth. May she rest in peace.
There were a few tensions over places in the queue, a bit of grumbling along with lack of sleep, but it was minor. Mostly they were people making new friends.
Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday dear Chris, happy birthday to you, Ray.
I just wanted to ask you why you're spending your birthday in a long queue.
I think it's a national event. I think it's never going to happen again in my lifetime, a female queen. And so I thought I'd get on in the event and see what all the hype is about. It's a really kind of immense moment, proud to be British.
Though on the subject of sleep, the long night was too much for some. Well, it's 7 o'clock, so it's just 10 hours to go until the doors of the Palace of Westminster will open and the people here can start filing through to the Great Hall where the Queen will be lying in state. And I have to say, the atmosphere here is great, despite the fact many people were soaked from the downpour last night. But what a lot of people have said is that they don't feel that it's real. They won't feel that it's real until they actually get into that hall and see the coffin. In 1954, crowds lined the Thames to welcome the Queen and her family back from a 6-month-long Commonwealth tour. Now they once again line this famous river to say this final goodbye. From the Palace of Westminster, the route crosses the river at Lambeth Bridge, wending its way down past famous landmarks, the London Eye, then on to the National Theatre, further back to the Tate Modern, before reaching London Bridge, and then that most iconic of sights, Tower Bridge, through Bermondsey and finally to Southwark Park. If it reaches here, that will be the point of maximum capacity, an end to the 5-mile-long queue.
It won't be 30 hours for everybody, but I think it's important that before people set off that they know just how long it could take, potentially. So we are supporting people throughout the queue, working with a number of partners like the Samaritans, like the Red Cross, also having stewards there as well, and working with the Metropolitan Police. So there'll be over 1,000 people per day who will be on hand to support people, to offer them advice, guidance.
Last night, the Queen arrived at Buckingham Palace for one final night before the lying in state at Westminster Hall. This is the biggest security operation ever for a state funeral. Special forces are said to be involved in case of potential attacks. And like these officers from North Wales, police have been drafted in from across the UK. As the morning went on, a trickle and then a steady stream of people joined the queue. Nobody knows exactly how many will come to pay their respects. One estimate is 400,000. It could be far more. Why have you queued up?
So I was in the military for 28 years and spending half a day waiting to pay my respects to Her Majesty the Queen seems like a very small sacrifice, given the fact that she's been for 70 years for the country.
And then what about you?
Well,
My late mother loved the Queen, and she died some years ago in 2016, and also I've met her 4 times, so I thought it's nice to come by, and that's why I've come early, because the queue is reported to be huge later.
Westminster Hall will be open 24 hours a day until 6:30 a.m. on September the 19th, when the Queen will be moved to Westminster Abbey for the funeral.
Well, Victoria is near Westminster Hall now, actually in Victoria Tower Gardens. What's the situation there now?
Well, Krish, we've been told that the queue has now reached the London Eye, with people joining who've come from Cornwall and from Cardiff. Now, in the next couple of hours, Lambeth Bridge behind me will open up and the queue will start to move around here into Victoria Tower Gardens, where I'm standing now, and that's where security will begin, and then they will wait for those doors to open at 5 o'clock. Now, as I said, nobody knows quite how many people will eventually file through here. But there is an absolutely lovely atmosphere over there with monarchists, the most die-hard of monarchists, who want to pay their respects to the Queen.
And just remind us of the plans for the rest of the day.
OK, well, at 2:22 p.m. a procession will begin. The Queen will be taken from Buckingham Palace to Westminster Hall. The King will follow on foot with his sons and with the Duke of York, the Princess Royal and the Earl of Wessex, and with some other male members of the royal family. Now, these are scenes, of course, that will remind many of us of those young princes walking behind the coffin of their mother, Princess Diana. The Queen Consort, the Princess of Wales, the Countess of Wessex and the Duchess of Sussex will follow by car. There will be a service here for about 20 minutes that will be conducted by the Archbishop of Canterbury, and then it will be 5 o'clock. As I said, the doors will open and they will remain open until the funeral. Of course, the coffin will then be moved across the road to Westminster Abbey for the funeral on Monday.
Victoria MacDonald in Westminster, thank you. And it's worth saying that there are thousands of people here in the Mall outside Buckingham Palace waiting for that silent procession to begin. Well, troops and military horses have spent days rehearsing for this afternoon's procession, as well as Monday's funeral. Emily Wither has been talking to some of the soldiers involved about what it means to be taking part in such a moment of history.
Over 500 soldiers have been preparing here at Wellington Barracks, next to Buckingham Palace, since the early hours of the morning. Tailors have been working late into the night, inspecting uniforms ahead of the Queen's coffin procession that will leave Buckingham Palace and travel to Westminster Hall. Lance Bombardier Morton, you're going to be the lead driver of the gun carriage. How much work has gone into today?
A lot of hours of hard work from the soldiers throughout the night, throughout the days. A lot of hours have gone into in preparation for what we're going to do today. You know, we want to make it immaculate.
What will be going through your mind as you're leading that gun carriage through the streets?
I think it's going to be full of emotion, but obviously I will hold it together for her, and I want to make sure I don't show my emotion while I'm on parade.
Do you have any special memories of the Queen?
Yes, so I have met her twice when I was at Royal Windsor Horse Show as a lead driver, doing the musical drive in front of Her Majesty, and she came up to the lines to see the horses and see the kit and everything like that, because she did that quite regular, and she came up and spoke to me.
And she had a real love for horses as well, didn't she?
Very much so. I couldn't imagine how she was still getting on horses so far through her life, but she still did. And she admirised the horses. You know, when she did come down and see our horses, the love she had for the King's Troop and for the horses, you know, beaming from the ear to ear, you know, smile, and she loved the horses so much. Yeah.
Thank you. And Warrant Officer Morris, what's your involvement today?
Today I'll be on the underground marching beside the horses, just making sure everything's okay and giving my support to the people riding onto the parade, make sure everything's okay as we go down the march.
And how does it feel to be part of this today?
It's obviously it's a feeling of great sadness, but you know, I feel very privileged and also honoured, but humbled.
And what special memories do you have of the Queen?
I think mainly is yearly when the King's Crew perform at the Royal Windsor Horse Show. Then we always look forward to her coming around, meeting the soldiers on the horses and saying hello. And then she go around and just be a good feeling having her there. Everyone is really happy and feeling good.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
In total, there'll be 83 horses taking part in today's events, and they've been chosen for their calm temperament. They've also received special training to be able to deal with members of the public crying or throwing flowers. For the 8 horses that will pull the gun carriage that carries the Queen's coffin, they'll also have the unique challenge of having to walk at a very slow pace as the procession leaves Buckingham Palace and travels to Westminster Hall.